Whew, okay. Hello, everybody. I am trying to get everything set up. Um, okay, there we go. I just can't see the game. There we go. All right. What's going on? I'm starting an hour and a half past the time that I normally want to do for Stellaris, and despite the rougher starts, I kind of feel like the Grand Strategy Day is the more reliable of them. Now, for those of you who follow on Twitter, this was a known quantity, but I'll let you know what's going on. I wanted to get another Elder Scrolls episode done on Tuesday, and the original plan was to record it on the weekend, and unfortunately, just everything went wrong with it. My weekend was not particularly restful, but also and not particularly productive either. So I was going to record it on Saturday, and then Saturday didn't turn out, and then Sunday I was going to have a session with somebody for a game, and I was late. So that got knocked off, and I'm like, okay, well, that'll give me a chance to record, and I didn't wind up recording. So it was going to become 2 weeks without an Elder Scrolls episode, and I wasn't really comfortable with that. So I made sure that I left work on time, so I have a very bad habit of spending too much time at work trying to make stuff happen, and it's later than the proper 8 hours of work, half hour of lunch. But today I was like, you know what? I don't care what doesn't get done. I am making sure I'm doing a stream tonight, because I really don't like the idea of having 2 weeks missed. And I've talked about this before. It's easy to develop habits. It's very easy to develop habits about streaming, and one of those habits can be getting very comfortable not streaming, and I don't want to do that. So that's one factor. The next is, okay, but why stream on Monday? Well, number one, I need to do a lot of uploads on YouTube. That'll probably be a saving grace, actually, because that'll make up for some of the missed days and whatnot. But the thing is that Friday wasn't really a very good cast. I enjoy The Division 2. There was actually a really good review of it by VG247, Kirk McKeon, who also did Anthem. And the funny thing is, I disagree with some of the, sorry, I know this is about other games, but... So the thing about his Anthem review is that I think the emphasis on certain things is a bit off. Some things that he sort of dismissed or thought were not good, I actually thought were different but not bad. But the thing is that he's pretty upfront in that review about sort of his expectations of a BioWare style game. So for what it's worth, because I haven't played Anthem on stream for a while, a lot of people are talking about how the dialogue choices don't really seem to matter that much, and that the story isn't like Mass Effect. And that's correct. I don't know if your character choice, or like the choices in the dialogue, have any bearing on what happens in Fort Tarsis and such. But there are these really wonderful moments of character that are revealed in them, and the animation is very good. So it's this really, I think there's maybe a little bit too much runway between doing a mission which is relatively short and going to Fort Tarsus and having these encounters, but I actually really do enjoy interacting with the different people because there's lots of character that's revealed and they're interesting people with interesting stories. Septic Boy, great to see you. Thank you very much for the host. I'm actually I'm unpacking why Friday's stream was a bad stream, and apparently I'm now talking about reviews. So, how are you doing? I'm gonna get a little bit of runway in terms of the stream, or in terms of just letting people come in anyway, because I'm an hour and a half off my normal start anyway. But yeah, I don't know. Like I quite enjoy those things. The only thing I would say is that sometimes I feel like the time between going to do another mission, which is relatively short, and the time that I'm spending in sort of the not action part of the game, I feel like that ratio is a little bit off. And I mean, it would be nice if, like, you know, the open world thing was just this huge open world where it feels a little more seamless between the missions and such, but I understand why that doesn't happen. Like, you know, I'd also like it to be completely in virtual reality and not require a headset. You know, you can't always get what you want. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of people discount the story of Anthem, and I actually think it's really strong. And the Division 2, it is really apparent to me, with all due respect to the people at Massive, because I know people, especially people who do narrative, you know, don't set out to make the kind of thing that I'm about to say, but you know, playing the Division 2 and how empty it sort of seemed in terms of some of the story content, at least from, you know, my experience of it. And I say that with all due respect and all apologies for the people who I know worked very hard on that game. It is very clear how you know, how much attention went into it. You're doing softball practice for a game that you have at school. It's 5th grade versus teachers and staff. Oh, good luck, Septic Boy. But yeah, I don't know, I'll be honest with you, I thought the thing that was great about Kirk's review is that I thought it was me for not knowing why, DC is completely overrun. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me, to be completely honest with you, especially, the overgrowth and whatnot. And he comes right out and says it. It's I don't know why it's that way. I could have Googled and looked for what the official version is. I'm sure a lot of reviewers will do it, but there's nothing in the game that tells you to, you know, why it is this way. And I'm like, okay, I feel good I'm not the only one. Yeah, now with that in mind, I like the combat a lot. I think it's really interesting. I think it's a great looking game. There are a lot of things that work for it. There are some things that I think are a bit rough. And again, I think that VG 24/7 review does a perfect job of explaining what's working and what isn't. But I think the big dilemma that I had for that one was I did content that I'd all done before. I started quite late. I was very tired, and I think in the end I just wound up rambling for a few hours before letting the stream finally die. So as enjoyable as the Division 2 was, I did not do a good job of showing any of that. And then I'm reflecting on what's going to be happening. I'm thinking a little bit about what's going to be happening this week, which is it's the 3rd week of the month. I'm going to be at Dirty Rectangles, the local game dev collective, unless they're canceling it for GDC or something like that, but I don't think it is. So that means Cultist Simulator is not going to be happening. And so if I missed the stream today, then that would mean that I do a not-so-good stream on Friday. No, a bad stream. I appreciate the people hanging out, but let's be honest, it wasn't my best. After all of that, I have Cultist Simulator on Wednesday, bad stream on Friday. I would originally have missed today because I was recording the Elder Scrolls episode. I know not everybody does the vodcast. I think usually Daggerfall is one of the least popular things that I do. We would be waiting until next Friday, so it would essentially be a week until there was more content. And I'm a little conscious, like the sub numbers are lower than what they, than what they normally are, and yeah, I'm feeling a little bit pressure to have a good stream. But the catch is that I only got a couple of hours of sleep last night, and I'm feeling it, especially after quite literally just coming off of 3 hours of recording an Elder Scrolls episode. So the deal is this. This might only be about a 90-minute cast or something along those lines. I'm probably going to put a hard cap at 10 o'clock. And that means after this preamble, I'm going to try and go hard on the game. But I just wanted to I wanted to kind of explain where I'm coming from. I am very, very tired, and I am a little worried to play an Iron Man game at a time when I don't think I'm going to be making some very good decisions. But I did want to do a stream, and it's I probably shouldn't have brought the sub number thing, because now this is just going to say it's like I'm only doing it for the money. That has never been true. As far as streaming goes, I definitely do other things for money. But yeah, I do want to make sure that I have something a bit. If I had a better stream on Friday, I probably would have been willing to knock this one off. But because I didn't, and I don't, I'm now going to do my best to make sure that this stuff is in a little bit better shape. So, we have made the United Hythian League our subsidiary, and as you can hear, they are really pissed off. So, I mean, they're pathetic in all regards. That was kind of a given. As far as advantages to us are concerned, we're pretty much rebuilding all of our infrastructure. I believe I've already taken care of this on all their planets. Not all of them are able to support that kind of infrastructure, but I don't plan on letting them go, so we're in good shape there. Now, of course, this means that the Scythian League is up next. Now, we've got 10 years of a non-aggression pact with them, because... So, for those of you who are maybe a little bit newer to the game, or maybe less so the game, but the this particular playthrough, we had an ally here. This is my oldest ally, actually, and these guys have always been a rival. I believe it is because of their xenophobia. All right, have a good one, Septic Boy, and if I don't see you before the match on June 3rd, all the best. I do hope you thoroughly thrash your teachers, but good luck one way or the other, and I hope you have a good one. Thank you very much for stopping by and giving me that host. It means a lot, especially when I have a late start like this. All right. So we had this long-standing ally. And the thing is, I think they wanted to expand, so they kind of kept bugging me, hey, do you want to invade this guy? Do you want to invade this guy? Do you want to invade this guy? I don't know if this is a bug or not, but you'll notice that the declined war is 315, and that's after quite a bit of time sort of ramping up. So these guys went from being a very good ally, and I mean, they're a direct democracy, they're egalitarian, they're materialist, like we have a lot in common with them, but because they were so insistent on a war and we kept refusing them, it turned them into not just somebody who broke the alliance and left the Federation, but somebody who we became rivals. And I'm like, well, there are other ways to bring you into the Rhizome family, and so once the 10 years was up, I went to do a subjugation war, but of course the trick here is that they know that they're next door to a very powerful entity, and so they sought the one friend that they could find, which of course was their former enemies, and in this case the fanatic egalitarian but xenophobes got along well enough with, they let their hatred of me bridge over the bigotry of the Scythian League. and now I'm here. So the good news is that with a subsidiary, I can kind of... I mean, I have boxed this guy in. This is the one drawback, is that seeing as... So, and this was intentional as well. I didn't want my ally to get a little too big for his boots. So this means I have a necessarily small subsidiary. What I would like, of course, is to be able to take these guys, but I'm not going to have them for another 10 years at least. We'll talk a little bit about the plan moving forward. So essentially what I need to do now is to consolidate my position. Part of this is going to be building up new systems. Part of this will also be to consider expanding out. I think I'm kind of at the point where I can afford a little more empire sprawl. The thing is that I've got a technology cost of 100% now, but I also have, 1K in everything but engineering, and I am unquestionably the scientific powerhouse, with the exception of the empires. This is the interesting thing. My economic power is pretty substantial, but as far as everybody else is concerned, overwhelming compared to the stagnant ascendancies. Everyone else is just, they're completely incapable of standing up to this. So that's good. It means that I have a little more wriggle room as far as, letting the technological edge slip in the form of higher costs. But it is important to keep, I can't just assume that I'm going to be this dominant forever. So I do need to think a little bit about where these things are going. Also, what's going on here? Oh, I get it. They're expanding. Neat. Okay. I don't think these guys... Well, they might want to be friends. I know these guys will not want to become... I don't think they'll want to become subsidiaries. So let's take a quick look here. I did say I was going to go crashing into the game, but I do kind of want to see where all this is going. Okay, so by score, the weakest of the fallen empires is still over twice what I have, but I'm just a little under twice, twice my nearest rival. So I have a feeling it's the military is the economic strength is the majority of that. Actually, it doesn't look like there's a military score. So economic strength, technology, fewer systems, fewer colonies. I need to get on that. Okay. This is making me feel all right as far as my overall strength is concerned. We've got our invasion fleets are heading back to repair and upgrade. Same story. Well, sorry. We've got our navy as well as our armies heading back. I will do some expansion, but again, it'd probably be good to sort of turn inward and make sure that everything that needs to be taken care of is taken care of before we start heading out. And I think after I've got enough colonies and jobs for everyone, the big decision is, where do I expand? So there's less pressure for me to expand southward because I've kind of already got a lot of this sewn up, whereas a lot of the resources up here are up for grabs with potential rivals. Now, exotic gases are going to be something that allow me to... they're going to be something that allow me to do more research. And I mean, we are going to be competing with these guys as far as planets are concerned. It would be particularly nice if I could maybe get this little gem, because that'll also give me some extra alloys. Realistically, if I was just focusing on containing these guys, both roads lead to Takavan on here. Oh, no, they don't, because then they'd be able to work through here. So it would actually have to be Nodox, or possibly Rigel, or Bijal. yeah, I guess as far as containment goes, you know, we'd move out here, then here, and I think this is kind of the point of no return. I'd have to be defending two fronts past that point. The thing is, right now, in terms of what I could potentially get from this expansion, exotic gases are it. Now, exotic gases are one of my highest priority special resources because they will give me more science, which is one of my biggest priorities right now. But let's consider the alternative. If we move up, we get more crystals. Crystals will enable consumer goods production, which I've kind of gotten taken care of with my subsidiaries, but never hurts to have more. And of course, it's also nice to deny the enemy. On top of that, more volatile motes. 3 additional volatile motes will translate into some pretty substantial alloy production, which I am getting a little bit behind on. I mean, it's still one of my higher production levels, but it's also one of my higher consumption levels. I tend to buy quite a few. Yeah, so as far as raw materials or not raw material, as far as specialized materials are concerned, this is definitely where all the action is. It also has 5 colonizable planets inside of it, and it does create sort of a natural border to some of my potential rivals. I just want to be careful about these guys. I don't think they'll be too mad if I come in close, but you know, it's worth being careful. Another thing to keep in mind too, like essentially where the future competition is going to be coming from, it's likely going to be these guys and these guys. So if I can move in and sort of stake my claim close to their territory, that would not be the worst thing in the world. So yeah, I suspect my priorities are going to be up here first, up here down, to the left second, and then sort of at my leisure to expand out to these. And that's a very long-term plan. Within 10 years, I think the plan is going to be to try and turn these guys into a subsidiary. I don't think they have any friends anymore, and I'm pretty sure any sort of credible help is pretty far away. So as far as people who they don't get along with anybody. I mean, as far as direct rivalries are concerned, all of their touching neighbors. Yeah, so every neighbor that they're touching, they disagree with. The only people that they might work with are these guys, and these guys already dislike me. So it's actually, I think, probably the best way for me to plan the next couple of turns. Turning the Scythian League into a subsidiary gives me 2 major advantages. I mean, number one, it's sort of a natural extension. So as far as friendly territory are concerned, this would lock in this part of the galaxy. The Duranthe star realm is very unlikely to turn hostile on me. They are a pacifist species, and they're reasonably powerful. On top of that, if I were to turn these guys into a subsidiary, it gives me sort of a natural invasion path on this side, whereas my own expansion intentions lead me towards here, so we're able to sort of make a pincer move on them. And the fact of the matter is any territories that I take out here are not going to be very important to me, but essentially we're going to have sort of two ways of moving in on these guys. This one in particular is actually really strong because it gives me pretty close access to their capital. I mean, there's still a way to go with it. I think it's very unlikely any of these systems are going to grant me access. I'd still have to do something along the lines of, knock this down. It'd sort of be up through here, hang a left, and then move in. But that's still an improvement over the long. This one, it's not even that I have so many areas to go through. It's more just, so many heavy bases to go through. It's more just the fact that it's such a long and roundabout path. Okay, let's also take stock of where my wormholes will take me. Oh, knob. Oh, neat. Okay, so that's going to be handy in two ways. One, it gives me... oh, no, sorry. That's the homeworld of a fallen empire. I don't want to have anything to do with that. We're going to leave this alone. Actually, this is a disaster. This completely changed. So I'm giving all of this preview. This completely changes the way I'm going to be playing the next little while. So let's take a look at the situation I'm in. We've always had this this implicit threat of these marauders waking up and moving on my capital, and there's nothing I can do about that right now. They're just too strong. Like, the fleets alone would be enough to wipe me out. But it's not just that. Now notice that because I have subjugated or turned the Hythian League into a subsidiary, let's take a look at the wormhole. So where previously I got to say, haha, you guys are in trouble. I actually originally thought, oh, this is a shame. The Baranthi are friends of mine. The Baranthi don't have that much to worry about from these marauders because there's no real direct path to them. They would be going to the Obastar dynasty, and then they'd be going through the wormhole and taking my stuff. So I actually have to worry about two different sources of marauders. And at this point, I think I need to very seriously consider how I'm going to be getting the strength to take these guys out. It's going to be extremely costly. I need to make sure I've got all my ducks in a row. But I think the more I delay this, I think the more I delay this event, the more likely it is. I mean, obviously that's a statement without content. Obviously, the longer you delay it, the more likely it is the Great Khan will emerge. But this is a point here where I am clearly within reach of getting a fleet that can deal with this problem. But I do need to make some fairly big sacrifices in order to make sure that my ships are able to do that. One of the big things that I'm going to do actually to test my preparedness when the main combat fleets come back, they have been waiting for quite a few years to upgrade, so I kind of want to see what my main fleet, what that strength looks like after I get all these upgrades done. And then I'll be able to make some more intelligent decisions as far as how to take out the marauders are concerned. And honestly, it'll probably be a piece-by-piece thing. Like, we can do a trial run by taking out these fleets. I think these are, yeah, they're sort of symmetrical. So, maybe I take out Cursa first, just because it's the most direct path to the capital without any obstacles. So we go through Cursa to take out Koldax. Then we heal up with, repair. Then next story is Andexor. Again, Defeat is going to be the really tough one. Especially too because once we engage in combat, there's really not going to be any way that I can sort of salami slice them. It's basically I'm going to engage one of them, and it's just all going to kick off, and I'm going to have to do my best as far as managing the threat. So this is basically going to be a story of some considerable resources put towards the military. Now, as far as the gateway is concerned, I'd really like to repair that as well. I'm not clear which one it would open. In fact, I don't know where all of the gateways are. I think, in reality, if I want to go invading someone, that's all well and good. But probably the Marauders are the higher priority than claiming anything other than these guys, so I'll hold off on that. So, before I go too deep, okay, so I just want to make sure that we've got enough, I want to make sure we have enough jobs on the colonies to make sure we can get to the next milestone. How are we on specialized resources? Apparently, we are totally out of exotic gases, and I don't really believe that. But we'll take a look after the pause. Where were we? Python. Okay, so they're good for jobs. Stebnar. I don't really need to upgrade it right now, but we've got a lot of minerals, so we're okay there. I don't have the volatile motes though, so in fact it's safe to say I just don't have any of the resources. Capella's being built, so we're good there. Okram, so they've got 4 jobs, but the thing is I also have a lot of free slots available, so I do need to make a decision at some point. The big challenge here, of course, is that Okram has, Okram could be anything. I've turned it into an industrial world right now. But I could just as easily make it an energy producing region. Looks like we're building a planetary capital and a corporate culture site so far. So we're actually going to have more employment, which means I get to kick the can down the road as far as they go. Halvam Prime is an industrial planet. We're building more civilian industries. I'm a little surprised with myself there, less because like 10 consumer goods is not that much, especially when you see what will happen once I start building some more research labs. But I also know I have a bunch of civilian industry coming online before too long. Volatile motes for food? No, thank you. I'm actually okay for food for a while. This is 36 out of 36, but we are moving on to civilian industries, which will be good for, I don't remember how many jobs. That will give me 2 artisan jobs, so we're actually still off on getting enough jobs. This is, however, there's a mining district here, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start them off with a... Interesting! I didn't realize that soldiers increase naval capacity. That is a bit of a game changer, actually. Anyways, I'm going to bring in the mineral purification plants. That's just a pure play for the fact that there's a lot of these resources here. Doesn't really make a lot of jobs, but it does direct me where I'm heading with these. Okay, Yagrilla, what are they up to? I don't have the exotic gases for them, so I'm going to leave that alone. Generators in city districts, that will be more than enough for them. Amenities will be taken care of with the city districts, so we're good there. Business management, yep, that's fine. We need more pops. We're not going to have enough people. We're not going to have enough jobs for people. This one's a little bit harder to argue because we don't have like super mining districts like some of the other planets. But for the rest of it, this will definitely be more of an industrial focused planet. So I either want to build... Actually, what's its trade value? I mean, for such a small planet, that's a pretty sweet trade amount. So in theory, if I wanted to play towards that, I mean, I could actually just start putting, I could either start putting things like military academies in anticipation of, oh, hello. I didn't realize Ministry of Production was a thing too. That I definitely need to consider. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling like a military academy would not be a terrible idea here. So if I bring a stronghold, jobs-based production plus 3 soldiers, military academy plus 3 soldiers, spawn defensive armies. The real argument on these would be improving my fleets. Let's go for that. The Vale. Okay, so the Vale, I had some amenities problems, and that hasn't really improved, but I have the jobs for it. So I think there's going to be a couple things that I do. One, I'm going to be pumping out some generator districts, because it's not just that I have an energy nexus, I have an upgraded energy nexus. But we're filling up jobs for the next little while, so I'm okay there. And that covers all of my my systems. So there are some ways that things could be better. I mean, I have the resources where I kind of should be planning. Actually, you know what? Should man up. Okay. Corporate culture site. Yeah, I made this an industrial planet when it's really not well suited towards that. And that's why I hesitated. Ministry of Production will give me additional civilian jobs. Well, you know what? I've kind of committed to that. So let's roll with it. So I am actually going to wait until planetary capital is built. So Akram, I'm deliberately leaving on its own. Now, Kthea Prime, perfect example of something that should get a military academy. So I kind of think in future what I'm going to do with planets like this is I will turn them into either planets that produce specialized resources. So I give up minerals in order to produce like the exotic gases or whatnot. Or I use them for other things such as, soldier points and such. The Vale, I think I'm just gonna hold off on, because I genuinely don't know what I'm doing with the Vale yet. It's getting its city district, which should be good for amenities. Obviously, I can turn around and say, well, I did say that I wanted to put more effort into, into building up my navy and whatnot, and I haven't, I'm not that tired. But I'm also not convinced. Like, I want the option open just in case I need to do something to get more amenities and whatnot. So got out a little bit over my skis on that one. I am actually going to leave a couple of planets open for options. Definitely need to get as many alloys as I can to upgrade my ships, but we can do that unpaused. So the name of the game is going to be to colonize whatever hasn't been colonized yet. I should actually take a look at my shipyards, make sure that they're producing things. And I do need to be accumulating alloys just to make sure. Hello! The Korean Coalition. Alright, so that's going to make things a little bit harder, because if I want to go to war with these guys, I'm going to wind up going to war with them. And then the Scythian League, aha! So that's less surprising. They're looking for friends. These guys are sort of a rising power. What surprised me, though, were these two. So if I attack these guys directly, there's trouble. I was kind of hoping I'd be able to...
A system has been surveyed.
Get aside. Okay, fleet order cancelled for some reason. What's going on with this guy? Let's get you to start researching things. Oh, is it because... It's because there's no path. Holy crap, there really isn't a path. How did you get over here? Okay, let's move you here.
Upscaling complete.
Did they just... I think they must have, like, closed their borders to me or something. That's probably always been
Research
true.
actualized.
Anyways, well, I have a way around this, so... Okay, advanced reactor booster. The discovery of antimatter power allows for highly advanced reactor boosters that greatly enhance ship reactors. Okay, so I tend to like to go for cheap things, and it's actually not a terrible idea for 0-point reactor. That'll improve my strength, it will give me
Upscaling
more
complete.
shooting ability, and it lines up with Flora's strength. Okay, so construction queue is... Wait a minute. Are there 10 jobs available? That's probably the generator districts. Like I said, I am very tired. Okay, this is a harder call. I am probably more inclined towards building more consumer goods producing facilities. There is sort of an argument for other things that okay, so the way that I tend to look at these, hey, CKY2 Kendall, and Lumpy Space, I'm sorry. I don't know how long you guys have been here. I normally have timestamps.
Upscaling
I am
complete.
obviously very late in starting all of this, and that's because I was recording an Elder Scrolls episode. What is our max, by the way? 50k, so we're doing good. Okay, so the way that I look at head offices personally is that I kind of want to, so like, you have labor and you have capital, and this game has done a really wonderful job of making that choice interesting. It's not just that I need to think ahead in terms of what kind of infrastructure I'm building. It's that I can no longer do stuff like build robots and like queue up 100 million of them and say, okay, that's the workforce taken care of. They grow naturally, it is slow, and they're a precious resource. So one of the things to keep in mind is that it's not just that you're giving up a special territory to build. So, you know, when I'm making on Halvam, you know, when I'm putting a mineral purification plant on this area, it's not just that I'm placing that down and foregoing something like a military academy to, you know, improve my naval capacity, because of course I did say that was a priority now. It's not just that I'm foregoing the building that will give me advantages. It also means that for the next little while, the pops are going to be going towards that, particular, you know, that activity. So the fact of the matter is that if I can, I would actually like to free up as many pops as possible to not make any of these resources. I would love to have 0 pops on consumer goods, 0 pops on alloy. Well, you know what? Yeah. Let's say, well, I mean, in the perfect world, all of this, I would be getting these levels at 0 pops. And if anything else, I would want to have as many pops as possible making alloys, unity, and science. Why? Well, because, you know, alloys turn into ships. Science turn into, you know, allow me to get even better ships. Unity allows me to get special abilities. Consumer goods are an input to science and unity. Food is an input to growing the population. You know, minerals are an input for producing consumer goods and alloys. You know, money makes the world go round, so this one's okay. But yeah, like this is the big thing. So the way I sort of look at these corporate offices is that they allow me to build things that don't wind up tying up precious tiles and population. And in this case here, I personally do not see any use for consumer goods other than as a means of getting some other thing. I know there's things on Planet, like, so, you know, if I wanted to, you know, if I wanted to shoot a hip-hop music video on, let's say, Halvum, you know, I can go distribute luxury goods. It'll cost me 400, you know, 400 consumer goods. And it'll improve my amenities and immigration pull. Like, there's reasons to have those around. They can be a currency, but it's a heck of a lot less interesting to me than some of the other things that I can be doing with them. So for that reason, that's why I went for consumer goods. Consumer goods to me are the sort of thing that I would like to shift. You know, I'd like to shuffle off onto other regions. So, advanced destroyer hulls. The latest generation of destroyer hulls have optimized structural integrity fields and improved bulkheads. I mean, this is the Apple model for Rhizome Capital, right? Apple never had or as so far as I can tell, it's definitely a megacorp. Actually, sorry, CK2 Kendall, I should do the proper introduction of Rhizome Capital. And Lumpy, I've not forgotten that you are a good person who's deserving of all shout-outs and nice things to be said. So just bear with me for a minute. But here is the species we're playing. Rhizome Capital is pleased to announce it has successfully completed the first round of seed capital. Our plants are already running at full capacity, getting ready to offer you the finest goods and services the galaxy has to offer. Tax season got you down? Our bean counters at Deloitte are licensed in all jurisdictions and legal systems. Need help with housework? Rhizome robotic solar-powered photosynthetic assistants are ready to attend to your every need. Under the sage guidance of Ebenezer Hawthorne, we'll make you green. Rhizome Capital. Leaf growth to the experts. So, this is a species designed entirely around the pun of opening a new branch. I'm finding it very enjoyable. I did not appreciate that Empire Sprawl was one of the negative features of Megacorps, but it's definitely a really interesting way of playing, and I've been having a great time with it. So, okay, so we got our destroyer hull points. I remember we made that choice because I know we're putting a lot of effort into building up the you know, the military, and I want to get survivability up. So the latest generation destroyer hulls have optimized structural integrity fields and improved bulkheads. Yeah, well, pretty sprawled, and I am going to be doing some pretty aggressive expansion. The thing is, though, like, so the thing I was kind of scared about was technology cost, and the fact of the matter is that I'm like unstoppable as far as technology. I'm better than everyone as far as my research is concerned, and we've just crossed 1K on the majority of advances. So I always kind of look at Empire Sprawl as just being something that focuses my attention and specializes, rather than a hard cap. So So it is very tempting to go for the Citadel, but I think I'm going to go for the Impulse Thruster because it's going to be pretty clear that moving people... I would never want to... Thank you very much for the follow, CKY2 Kendall. I believe we're actually 100 people over... over the 2,000. I am still planning on doing a special 2,000 follower event. It just happens to be like with Cultist Simulator and stuff like that. There's just so much to do. I've not been able to properly put the time into. I'm gonna do something special. The more I delay it, the more I need to make it up. But originally I held off on it because I wasn't sure if it would be permanent because we had a bunch of people who followed from the Steam stream, and it's like, well, you never know if people are gonna stay around from that. But I think it's pretty safe to say if we're 100 over 2,000, that's I don't think we need to worry about losing losing out. Okay. I do have a bit of a dilemma here. So we've got our Ministry of Culture, but I don't actually have any... Yeah, what the hell was I thinking here? Oh, I do have the Holo Theater. So I am doubling down on research on here. The question is, do I do another research lab? Do I do another Holo Theater? Or do I make good on the Military Academy? Military Academy isn't going to give me that much as far as jobs are concerned, and we are a bit strapped. What I might wind up doing on this actually is repurposing the robot assembly plants on this system. Because I can't afford to upgrade any of this other stuff, I just don't have the resources for it. I definitely need something to bring me over 80 so that I can upgrade the capital. Okay, so if I put as a requirement, I needed something that'll get me 4 jobs. It's not a lot of options. I mean, commercial zones, that's not really exciting. Then again, 1 soldier job isn't either. I actually don't think any of these are going to give me 4 jobs. Okay, so let's say I'm going to focus on a holo theater or a research lab. I think I'm going to do the holo. I think I'm going to do the holo theater on this one just for a little variety. And then what I think I'm going to do is we will double that up into a System Capital Complex and CK2K Kendall. Thank you very much for that subscription. That was very unexpected and very, very nice. So let me just catch up because I know there have been a couple things said in chat and I needed to figure this out. So I've been doing science technocracy a ton lately, going tall. That was something that I wound up doing a lot in some of the earlier patches. So I go through my phases. It's hard to state how much you enjoy me explaining my thoughts as I go. I mean, it's really the only edge that I could give. Like, there are always going to be people who are better at the game. And there are always going to be people who, you know, like if you play multiplayer with them, it's just going to be just a master class in humiliation. But the one thing that I really do enjoy about this game, and the one thing that I really like, is the ability to give voice to sort of my reasoning, even if it's bad reasoning. Because even like in Crusader Kings 2, I was making mistakes constantly, but it was an opportunity to learn. And the thing is that when you give voice to your plans, it keeps you honest. It actually makes you a bit better at the game because you have to put it out there, and you have people online who can sort of call you out if you're taking credit for something that you didn't really plan out. But anyways, he said, one more question. You're going to make a new empire and save it real quick to try Megacorp later. What civics and traits did you go for, and what ascension perks did you prioritize? So the thing to keep in mind here, CKY Kendall, I definitely like playing the game with like an idea in mind. So I didn't do didn't pick any of this stuff because I thought it was the best way of doing it. I did it because I thought it would be appropriate for the species. So in this case, I went for egalitarian, xenophile, materialists. And the civics I went for were brand loyalty, franchising, and now I've got media conglomerate. And I partly did that because I was at war, but I also did it because it was sort of this idea of just this massively growing, holding company of various different things. Like the flavor text, I wrote the flavor text first, and then I picked civics to support that flavor text. So this idea of like, you've got accountants and robotics and so on and so forth. I'm like, okay, well, it makes sense for me to do franchising. And somebody's like, well, that's a military one. You have to go military now. And I'm like, no, I don't have to do anything. Incidentally, it actually helps. It winds up helping out with branch offices as well. You get a 25% decrease. So I think probably the thing about it is I like to pick when I'm, when you want to do something like a megacorp, I always think is like, well, what do you find interesting about a megacorp? Like, what feature do you want to explore? And if it's like, I want to see how branch offices work, well, franchising gives you that bonus towards, or lessens the impact of the branch offices. So in that case, maybe you do want to consider franchising as far as a civic or something like that. You can start a cult. Tall Man Alive, did you not see me do the cult? Because if you haven't, I'm actually going to show you something that's going to make you very happy in a minute. I apologize to people who are here for Stellaris, but Tall Man Alive has to see this if he has not seen me. Have you not? I'm genuinely curious. Have you not seen the cult that I tweeted to Alexis Kennedy? Because if you haven't, I have to show you this. So some of you who like Stellaris will. Okay, no, I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna have to get out of this playthrough for a second. But I do want to answer CK2 Kendall's question. So with that in mind, like I sort of said, okay, well, this is going to be all about making branches, so obviously franchising is going to be in line with that. In terms of Ascension perks, it's a little lumpier. And part of that's because I didn't quite appreciate some of the changes between the old way of playing and the new one. So I went for Interstellar Dominion, but I don't think Interstellar Dominion is quite as strong as it used to be. I definitely went for universal transactions, and that's again just to reduce costs of branch offices and commercial pacts. I sort of wanted to accelerate that as much as I could. And then I sort of realized, exactly what my empire sprawl and all of that was, and so I went towards technological ascendancy and one vision. And this was mostly just to try and give me a bit of an edge in terms of overcoming some of the sprawl. Oh, traits, yes, of course. So in this case, sorry, we should be in species. For this one, this is more of a thematic one, so I made them thrifty because, it makes sense. They're plant capitalists. And then I did ingenious, and again, the idea here is that they live to make money. They are very good at that. They will trade and they will create wealth. And then they're non-adaptive just because I needed to balance it out. This one was a little bit harder to justify, but I just thought I have a couple of plants in my apartment, and they're a little temperamental, so that was sort of how I justified it. But again, all of this is all purely RP reasons that I did these. They work. Like, it's not a terrible set of choices, but if you wanted to make the most dominant megacorp, I think you could do better. Of course, the worm. For those of you who are familiar with Alexis Kennedy's work, we did just finish the Horizon signal, and the worm in waiting now has a seat on the board as well. Okay, guys, I'm gonna very quickly get out of this playthrough because for those of you who are familiar with Cultist Simulator, so the patch, I think it was 1.4, the one that came with Leviathans, is called Kennedy. It's named after a guest writer for Stellaris called Alexis Kennedy, who wrote a really great little bit of DLC called the Horizon Signal. If you've not played it, it comes for free with the game. Even if you don't have Leviathans, you have access to the Horizon Signal, and it is an absolute treat. And he wrote this during what he refers to as his Ronin year in game development. So he left he left Failbetter, which is a company that he co-founded. Did he found or co-found? I know Paul Arendt was he's in there fairly early, but anyways, they made a game called Fallen London, and then probably better known Sunless Sea. And he's somebody who just is kind of rather well known for doing writing in games, and he's exceptionally good at it, as anybody who's played the Horizon Signal knows. But after his Ronin year, he founded Weather Factory with Lottie Bevan, who's the producer and writer and artist and pretty much every other task that's asked. And it's a game. It's a card-based narrative game where you found a cult and sort of pursue these mysteries and whatnot. And with Megacorps, we'll call it whatever here. We'll move on here. Let's carry on. Pick something with strange geometry. Let's go for the Avian City, and we'll make it a Megacorp, and we will say that they're spiritualists. So it's Gospel of the Masses and Criminal Heritage, and well, we'll say it's authoritarian. Well, fanatic, spiritualist, and authoritarian. And as you can see here, the name that it gets is a subversive cult. Well, we're not quite ready for this. We gotta call this the. All right, there we go. And just do one of these. I can't remember. Ah, yes. And all right, where are we here? All right. And there you have it. You can make the Cultist Simulator cults in Stellaris. For those of you not familiar with Cultist Simulator, first of all, do check it out. Again, if you like the Horizon Signal, it is very much more of that. And all of these things like the game sort of playing with your assumptions and sort of you getting distracted by certain things going on the screen, and then all of a sudden you realize you've got more pops than you had before. Cultist Simulator also does little tricks like that as well. But in this particular case, if my favorite cult in Cultist Simulator is known as the Lantern Cult, called the Mirror of Glory. And one of the characters who is associated with Lantern in the game is a character known as Pope Clifton, who is a bearded gentleman. And he's not a dead ringer for this, but just the fact that you can have this background, you've got a sufficiently Lantern-like, logo, and just to be able to make something that looks a little bit like the character, and the fact that you actually do have something, now that Megacorp is here, the fact that you can actually create a subversive cult, I thought was just great. So I made this when I first got Megacorps, but I was under embargo, so I couldn't actually share it with Alexis until later, but I did I did take a screenshot, and as soon as the embargo lifted, I put it through. So I apologize. I know I don't have a lot of time for the for the stream tonight, and I just spent a bunch of it on showing you as a silly little thing for a crossover with a really wonderful game. But like, to me, it is worth reiterating, like, this is why I like playing Stellaris, because you can do anything in it. Like, it is all of science fiction in one tidy little package. And it is so wonderful that you're able to do that. So I'm not gonna get get too upset about being able to share with people the the ability to realize things. I mean, again, you guys are going to have your own subjects that you're interested in, and you'll be able to realize them inside of the game as well. So just to reiterate, I wasn't clear on one thing here. So I think the plan here is going to be, once so I'm going to use the Holo Theaters to pull me up a little bit higher. So that'll take me to 78 available jobs. Once I start getting to a point where there just simply is no work available, if it's a robot, I'm going to kick it off the planet and send it somewhere else that it can work. But essentially what I will do at that point, that's going to be where I'm sort of hitting diminishing returns. So I can convert the robot assembly plants into something like, a military academy. That'll give me one extra job. So actually, no, that won't, because the roboticist jobs will already be there. So that'll actually still keep me even. But what I could potentially do is I could wait it out and get the planetary capital. Upgrading that will get me, I don't remember how many, actually. It'll at least give me some jobs. And then the last phase, if it really comes down to it, I might want to reevaluate what I'm doing. I did sort of say that this system was going to be sort of heavy research focused, so I could maybe take a look at my amenities and say, well, you know what, I'm getting enough. Maybe I can switch out these entertainer jobs for research. And if I do that, then I would switch out the Ministry of Culture, because it's not really giving me quite what I need. But with that in mind, I mean, 9 social, 9 unity, it's not nothing. So I'm probably going to wind up keeping this planet the way that it is. Okay, let's get a little activity going on. So where are we? Definitely want to upgrade that. So that's a costless upgrade. I pretty much reflexively improve those.
Research actualized.
How are we for research? All right, foreign soil enrichment. Extensive study into different soil types and their ability to support crops will improve the living conditions of our settlers on foreign worlds. So Tomb World habitability plus 20%. I think I'm okay on Tomb Worlds, but it is very cheap.
Good business is where you find it.
I hate that I'm doing this, but I am. That's mostly just to get rid of it. No governor. It's on Zorf. Okay. I certainly have no shortage of credits, so I've got retired fleet officer. Intellectual will be helpful if we lose the capital. Normally I would like somebody a bit younger, but this is a really good governor for this brand new system, because I am going to be taking the time to clear out the blockers. We don't have blockers. I'm an idiot. Okay, I need to figure out what I want to do with this planet. Let's start. Uh-oh, somebody's dead. Okay. So let's start by building a district, and I think, it is only 2, but it's still the edge for this system. So we'll start with city district just to make sure that there's infrastructure in place for people, and we'll get them started on generator districts. That should be enough. 2 clerk jobs, 2 technician jobs, a partridge in a pear tree. That should give enough housing and jobs available for us to get up to level 5, and then when we get up to level 5, we can start making some other decisions. How come I always do the cheap ones? So it's mostly because if there isn't something that immediately leaps out at me. So like one thing is there is something to be said for increasing the overall level. What I tend to notice is that if I focus on all of the superstar, so like honestly, I'm like, okay, I always want more tech. You know, how do I get more tech? Give me more tech. Do it. And so what would happen is you have this very large ramp up in terms of the cost for the higher level tech upgrades. And what happens is I wake up and I realize that I'm still using like red lasers. So one thing about going for the cheap tech is it makes sure that there's sort of this rising tide of technology. There are also a couple of interactions. I'm not quite sure how the game determines your technological superiority with someone, but that is a factor too. Like if you specialize, you could be really deep down one part of the tree, but I believe if you're lacking in certain techs, the game will score you as being not quite as technologically strong, and as a result, you may not get sort of the overwhelming trait which you sometimes need for being able to do or not overwhelming, but like I remember at least, I don't know if it's still in the game. I mean, I'm already running away with my ability, but I know for at least an older patch, and it may still be true, you can't actually try to vassalize someone if they're not weaker than you. So that's just a little way that I can sort of give myself an insurance policy for that. That's not the main reason, it just happens to be a nice little side reason. But number two, what I tend to find is that if I'm really not that sure about what I want to do, being able to get an inexpensive technology basically means that I get a kick at the can faster. So it could be that I have some technologies which are nice to haves, but I really want something that'll maybe give me an extra unity or something that'll help me with my sprawl or something like that. What I would do is I pick something that'll maybe only take 2 months to research, and by choosing these smaller ones, I'm increasing the number of chances that I get towards getting something really special. Now this is assuming that I want something really special. Like sometimes it's inappropriate, but in these cases here, like I'm strong enough in terms of my research that I can sort of afford to quote unquote throw away some of the what's the best way of putting this? I can sort of afford to throw away other opportunities in the name of getting another draw. That's not the most cogent reasoning I could give you, but I think it's one that I do think it's one that has worked well for me in the past. Now I'm a little tempted to just lock in Erica Oak so that I can put her to another sector. I wonder. Let's go under. Nope, planets and sectors is better. Oh wow. Okay. So we'll replace Iris Life with Eric Oak. This is just so I can maximize the intellectual. It's going to just be a little bit of a reshuffle. And then Akram. So eager and resilient. I mean, it's a bit of a shame to have such a high quality governor just take care of one planet, but I don't want to completely redesign my my cabinet or my board, or I don't know what the proper term would be.
Upscaling complete.
Okay, let's see what Python can do. I don't think I want to upgrade any of this because I don't have the resources. I actually got a... nope, let's upgrade the planetary capital. That's important. I got the Ministry of Production, which was important to me. Now, it looks like I'm doing something that will cost me more volatile motes. The thing that I probably didn't appreciate was that I didn't really lock in... So, like, I built a bunch of things that require exotic gases, not realizing that I'd already committed some of those resources, so I'm going to have a deficit for a while.
Upscaling complete.
But I do have some plans on improving that. Okay, so we lost a scientist. I think in this case here, I really want to move any of my existing ships. So let's take robot companion. But I've got a genius here, so this is not the best place for a genius to be, but it will let them train. So. Oh, they were in the equity system. Okay, cool. Well, I know what I'm doing then. Get back to assisting. Okay. Blossoming Bion Armada. We have enough alloys, so we'll charge that up. Looks like I didn't plan my food that well. I'm actually surprised that dipped so quickly. Mind you, I did just open up a bunch of colonies, so but that's fine because we have a couple of dedicated agriculture worlds. The worst that could have happened, so like this is a great example here. I would prefer obviously to put something towards towards minerals. But in this particular case here, I clearly need the food, so I'll take advantage of that. I think we'll be okay for housing, but I'm not going to go more than 2. This is actually going to take a while to build, though, so you know what? We'll build 1, and then I have another world with farming. Yeah. That'll give them plenty to think about. Okay. Do you need anything special with trade routes, or can you just ignore them? The one thing to keep in mind about trade routes is that piracy will be a problem. So I've got piracy more or less under control. It's just the Rookbat system which is causing me a little bit of grief. I actually thought I had a way of handling that. What's going on with Urim? Oh, you know what? I didn't upgrade Urim. I think probably a black site is the best I can do. Why won't you let me? Requires an own planet. Okay. I'll probably put some defensive structure, but I don't need to worry about that right away. So basically, you get trade value from the zones, but you also have piracy. And so
enterprise established.
It's possible. It's not just that pirates generate, but piracy will actually lower your. Piracy will lower your the trade value that you get, and so you put all of this effort into into earning the money from trade. But if you don't put some effort in protecting it, you're going to be in trouble. There's a couple of interesting effects that it has. Number one, it gives you more reason to have. So like, I personally didn't see a lot of reason to put built up bases sort of within my borders. I know there were like some things that you could get to, do something a little more civilian oriented, like off-world trading companies, for instance, were a good source of energy and whatnot. But for the most part, you wanted to tend to put your star bases out on the frontiers so that you could just build these really tough choke points. Now, if you employ that strategy, especially in a very large empire, in this patch, essentially you're going to be losing a lot of your trade to piracy. And then, of course, there's the threat that pirates will emerge as a result of it. So it gives you sort of an incentive to make sure that you're a little bit more even in your distribution of star bases, and that you can't just have star bases which are dedicated entirely towards civilian activities. Building some more defensive systems will actually be advantageous to you because they will give you protection for your trade routes. All right, Zeracorp. Dearest customer, we regret to inform you that the trade deal that we negotiated for the export of exotic gas to the worlds of Rhizome capital has run its course. We are of course more than willing to extend the deal for another 10 years if you have the energy credits to spare. Very well, we wish to extend the deal. This is a product that we here at ZeroCorp are particularly proud of. Our medical division has recently begun refining a gas with unique properties that will significantly ease the often difficult process of adapting to a foreign planetary environment. It is, however, unlikely to be compatible with alien physiology. We are willing to export our exotic gas to you for a period of 10 standard years, after which the contract will have to be renegotiated. 5 exotic gases for 50 energy credits a month. Now, I believe this is a lump sum payment I need to make, but I mean, it's 2,500. Oh, gee, I wonder if I'm going to be able to afford that. That's the ZeroCorp way. Our freighters will begin making deliveries immediately. By purchasing this product, you agree that ZeroCorp cannot be held responsible for any adverse effects that may result from its use, including, but not limited to, skin irritation, psychotic episodes, ocular discoloration, aggressive mutation, increased colonist suicide rates, precognitive trances, biosphere depletion, dangerous strangelet production, micro-black hole generation, grain elevator explosion, societal collapse, mass extinction events, unexpected supernova detonations, the complete or potential destruction of your star nation, sudden gamma ray bursts, time travel paradoxes, vacuum metastability events, universal entropy, the collapse of the space-time continuum. Goodbye. Okay, so we got tomb world habitability. This is just an example of sort of the payoff of, I mean, again, if I really need to, I can make colonists that will go and live on tomb worlds. But one, it's worth mentioning that I might actually want to make it survivable for other species. Other species in my, I mean, again, I have sort of freedom of movement, but, so, you know, I have Birnathi who are, oh, actually, turns out some of them were on the home world, so I have ones who have a tomb world preference anyway. So hypothetically, if I wasn't so egalitarian, I wouldn't have had species on this. But you'll notice, like, there's different specialties that they have. The Biranthi were actually better scientists than the shareholders. In terms of Hythian, in this case, a little bit better in terms of engineering. Again, the way research works now, it's maybe less important that I focus on particular research types. But the idea here is that instead of just trying to colonize people who are on the home planet when the worm decided to show up, this will just give me some more options in terms of where I can put people. So, but in this particular case here, because of the Horizon Signal event, this is maybe a little less useful than it would normally be. But here we go. I get another kick at the can. So if I go for the smallest option here, what would it give me? Xeno Outreach Agency. This is not a bad item, by the way. Like, increasing the trade value, especially, you know, given how important money is. Like, the negative food, if I want more alloys, if I want to, you know, break even as far as the special resources, I have the Galactic Marketplace. I can buy every single one of these things. So with that in mind, you know, trade value is pretty decent for me. The more important question, though, is there something that is pretty, you know, that is more important to me? Manifest Destiny, pretty high priority. You know, another 2 star bases would be helpful. On the other hand, I know that I'm actually going to have some pretty heavy demands on my alloys because I'm going to be upgrading fleets and I'm going to be building new ships. So while it will be nice to have more star bases, do I necessarily need star bases on this next round? Secrets of Life, similar story here. If I give up 23 months, am I going to want another 20% from researchers? Well, I mean, that 20% is going to be a thing of beauty, right? Because I'm generating 978. So, you know, sure. Do you want an over 100 research in 23 months? That sounds like a really good idea, you know, a really good deal. But what else am I, you know, what am I going to be giving up? It's not so much the question, you know, do you, you know, if you ask me, do you want 2 star bases? Yes, or the capacity for 2 star bases. Not that, you know, I can always go above the star base capacity anyway, but I like to try and keep within parameters because it's very easy for things. The one thing I've definitely learned about the new patch is that if I'm not paying attention, it can run away with me very quickly. So it's like, okay, do you want the capacity for 2-star bases? Absolutely. Okay, but would you like over 100 social research? Oh yeah, I absolutely want over 100 social research. Oh, by the way, your food's a little bit low, so would you like 15% bonus towards food from jobs? Yes, that's very important to me. I want that. I'm like, okay, and how about something that will give you like a huge upgrade to your, Unity producing buildings? And then it's like, oh, that's major, like especially for the planets that have that, because I need jobs for them, and it gives me 10 jobs. It's like, okay, that's really good. Oh, and by the way, would you like something that gives you a percentage-based improvement to trade? While improving your immigration pool? It's like, oh yeah, that's super important too. Well, congratulations, like I've just picked every single thing in this technology screen. But yeah, so it's like, in one sense, I'm like, okay, this is not a bad upgrade at all. In 23 months, that's something I'm willing to go for in normal circumstances, but I know I'm not going to get the advantage from it right now because my alloys are going to be stretched pretty thin. Dealing with my existing cap. And more importantly, I'm going to be able to increase my naval capacity by upgrading my existing stations. Like, the important thing to remember is I've already got a lot of extra capacity in terms of being able to build up my navy just by getting the better, like the upgrades to the types, like things like Citadel and all of that. Again, I'm always going to want more science, but if this was engineering, I would seriously consider it. As society research, I'm like, do I want to lock myself in for 23 months? Well, what's the alternative? Less than a year and I get another kick at the can. So, that's the reason I'm doing Xeno Outreach Agency. Although it's a particularly good one because, again, that will give me access to more pops. For this one, I'm definitely going to do another city center. I kind of feel like you have to start with a city center. But I need at least one more job before we move on, and I don't actually have any really good ideas. This might actually wind up being one of these specialized planets. Where is this? Kesso Prime. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to do with this system yet. So we will kick the can down the road and we'll just double up on housing. And we know we'll need it eventually. It does give me Unity, and I'm buying time with those allocations. Okay, we're still okay with everybody's placements. All right, we knew this was coming up, so the years just fly by, don't they, shareholder? It has now been 10 years since we arranged our trade deal for rare crystals. Do you wish to extend the deal for another decade? Yes, let us continue our deal. Shikrat-Du, or rare crystals as they are known to those who are not of our species, have come to symbolize our entire civilization. When these singing crystals vibrate, they emit a unique musical tone that has a calming effect on most sapiens. Although we typically do not share wonders of the Shikrat-Du with outsiders, we are willing to make an exception in your case. If you can afford it, we are willing to export our crystals to you for a period of 10 years. Chump change. Do you have more? Okay. We're going to be okay up to 25 anyway. I need to make some decisions. I'm probably going to wind up going heavy on energy on this system, although I have a feeling I'm starting to wear out my welcome a little bit on that. Actually, you know what I am going to do? I'm going to build another city district. One, that'll bring me up to 30, and number two, that'll also put me on track for getting some more amenities, although I feel like the commercial zones haven't kicked in yet, so I might have been wasting things. Akram is still okay. I can't upgrade it because I don't have the crystals. Although, I should build a Ministry of Production now. I should have access to that. So this one is a no-brainer, right? Because I'm full up on... fabricators and alloys. Okay. I'm always happy to see a little bit of dissent amongst potential rivals. Ugrilla does have that one space available. Now this one's a little bit harder to argue as a... this one's a little bit harder to argue as like a major energy generator. I do have the energy grid, but the fact of the matter is I'm not going to be generating that many. I'm not going to be getting that many generator districts, and I am running out of space here. So I think what I'm going to do, as much as I hate to do this, I am going to put a commercial zone down here. One, that's going to be good for generating jobs, but number two, that's going to give my amenities a kick. No, I'm not going to do that, actually. Instead, I'm going to put a hollow theater there. We'll generate amenities the old-fashioned way. And all right, these guys are well on their way to another alliance.
Actualized.
So the problem that I'm going to run into before the 10 years are up. Okay, so here's how I'm going to think about this. I 100% need to make sure that my fleets are at the border and ready to go to take this guy out, or just to turn him into a subsidiary. I know for certain that there's going to be a defensive pact and that these guys are going to come in. Now, am I worried about them? Hell no. Like, you know, please send some ships my way. We really need the experience. I completely forgot to send this guy. Let's subspace navigate there. So I just enabled the experimental subspace navigation, so I don't need to worry about the blockage. And then we'll just get him to research the anomaly. Dealing with this guy, no problem. What is very likely going to happen before the end of the 10 years is that they are going to do a defensive pact. So right now the defensive pact works like this. If I attack the Scythian League, then the Panaxula Union joins in because they're in a defensive pact. However, the Corian or Corvian coalition don't, because they're not in a defensive pact yet. The fact they've done a non-aggression pact and the fact that they are starting to cozy up makes me think that they are going to enter into a defensive pact. Now again, I don't need to worry a whole lot about these guys. Even with all three of them fighting after me, I'm likely going to be able to cause them a lot of pain and take care of it. But the dynamics of the war shift considerably once that happens. So, what do I need to worry about if these guys join the war? Well, I need to worry potentially that maybe they want to do some sort of feint, and rather than reinforce where the war is going to be happening, they're going to take a squad and they're going to go all the way down here, and then they're going to try and sort of take my, they're going to try and hit me in a softer spot, because like Capella doesn't have a spaceport and all of that. Well, to be completely honest with you, this is not a very credible threat, right? I have enough I have enough information from my sensors that I'm going to be able to see them soon enough to, to deal with the problem. And essentially, I can make nonsense of that threat the exact way that Eunuch made nonsense of the threat to my east when I was working on the Hythian League. I need to do one upgrade, and I can render the threat from the north, completely blunt. So, if there's going to be any activity, it's going to be coming sort of down here. Well, if I was the one who had to fight this war, I would be making sure that I would send reinforcements in, and I'd basically be one of the smartest things that a player could do in this situation here. It's very likely that I have enough fleets to just be able to barrel them over. But one thing that can cause a lot of trouble is to make sure that there are enough fleets to create enough of a threat that any territories that I claim, there's going to be another fleet to go in and snap them up away from me. So in that case, that means I need to keep my fleets consolidated. It means that I gain less territory, and they're able to sort of protract the war long enough that the attrition does me in. Because this is a lot of territory that I need to take, and all of it is hidden behind, behind this stuff. This is not going to be trivial to deal with. particularly these areas here. I'm basically going to have to dedicate a fleet to just going and cleaning up this crap before I start munching on these planets. And again, you don't have unlimited time to do a war, so. Now again, do I think that adding a third empire into the mix is going to cause a lot of trouble? Well, no. But just take a look where they are. Like, it is actually more inconvenient for them to fly through and help out the Scythian League. Their best option is to go and to attack me. And where do they come from? Well, they could come from here, right? So what, do I want to put my defenses up on? I mean, in this case, I already have a defense on the Vale. Or, you know, do I do last stand at Oreb? Well, if it's last stand at Oreb, well, congratulations, you just move around like this, right? This is not particularly well defended. You know, it really is the Vale that's going to be the thing that holds them off. It's like, okay, so I just need to build up a bunch of facilities on the Vale, right? Well, perhaps, but maybe they're just going to decide to do what these guys, you know, have less of a credible threat for. It's not really all that much extra work for them to go and move through to Capella. It's like, okay, well then just upgrade Capella. Oh, so now I'm upgrading 2 bases on top of the fact that I've already put considerable resources towards upgrading Eunuch. So I'm putting all of my alloys towards fighting a defensive war against 3 people who I should just be able to throw around the galaxy like toys. This sounds like a recipe for a very passive way of fighting the war. If I don't do it, then they're going to take systems from me, and that means that my war score is going to go down. If I do it, then that means that resources that should have been going towards invasion fleets are now going towards protecting what I have. So these guys joining a defense... Now again, do I think I would lose this war? No, I would kick the crap out of these guys. But man, does it become a lot more complicated if these guys have a threat on my border here. So this is, you know... The answer to this is to make sure that once we're, 2 years out, that I make sure that my fleets are as upgraded as they can be, that they are ready to go. I have my main fleet in the Kelvin Maelstrom ready to claim these planets on a moment's notice. It's not just going to be my fleets, but all of my armies are going to be here. We're going to go in, we're going to chop these 3 off. And essentially, because of these defensive pacts, I can no longer guarantee that I own this forever. This is going to be, I need to make sure that I have some contingency to keep these guys from becoming a little too pesky. While I take care of these, we're just gonna, slowly munch our way up. This I feel a little bit more secure about. What I think the new strategy is going to wind up being is I'm going to focus a little bit more on claiming these worlds, which happen, by the way, to include the capital. And the good news here is that if I take these worlds, including the capital, they don't get it back. You've got a fallen empire in the way. There's no way that either force is going to be able to save these planets. So the strategy is going to be, my main fleet is going to move in, and it's going to try and take these planets. I'm going to try and find as good of a path as I can towards taking these planets. And oh, I don't want to kill the Fallen. I definitely want to. I want them to act as this nice blocker. Essentially, what's going to be happening is I take these planets so that, and I build a. Essentially, the opening moves are going to be building a path to Balawar from down below, as well as in taking the invasion of these planets here. So I don't want to make very... The thing is, I don't actually want a whole lot of progress for this fleet. I essentially want the fleet to take the Eye of Baal, Endrilang. I want them to take these 3 planets, and then, of course, the associated systems. And essentially, I would love it if they can just park on either Alib, or if I'm particularly fast, we can move up to Garam, and essentially we block these guys from providing reinforcements. The lower navy would have to move up to Balawar, and essentially that is all about securing a path for my armies to the capital. Now again, the Scythian League is not going to just stand idly by, but the catch is that I'm trying to make it so that any move that they make is going to be a bad one. I want to focus on getting the choke points where I can, and make it so that anywhere... I essentially want to restrict the movement of their fleet so that they can't move up with their allies, and that essentially they're left defending their capital world, because I want the capital world. I'm always going to be moving to the capital world, and if I can bring sort of this overwhelming force to bear on them, then they keep losing their navy, and I still wind up with the prize. But notice, all of this is relying on moving as quickly as I can through their territory, and if I have to worry about defending this territory here, that means I can split up my fleets, and I can't split up my fleets into smaller areas as I would, or I won't have as many ships, or, you know, there's all these other factors. So, anyways, 0-point reactor. These generators extract vacuum energy, providing an almost limitless supply of ship power. There is no more efficient way to generate energy. Hello, the Eyes of Sin. I'm actually streaming later than I wanted to, but I'm so happy to see you here. How are you doing? All right, more dangerous technologies. As much as I love these, I think we need to figure. So, you know, do I want to get the expensive one here? I mean, a 5% bonus to energy credits. What would I be getting? I actually don't make that much from jobs. The majority of my earnings come from trade. Cool. I didn't get a nap in. The Elder Scrolls episode went longer, and now the stream is going longer. I am so happy to hear that you went out. Oh my god, you know what? I'm sorry, guys. I was supposed to shout out Lumpy Space a really long time ago. Lumpy, are you still here? I've been really out of it. Again, for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, I only got 2 hours of sleep last night after not a particularly restful weekend anyway. But I also had a bad stream on Friday. And on Wednesday, I'm not going to be able to do Cultist Simulator because I'm going to be at a local game dev collective thing. I'm not a game developer myself, but it's a cool group, and I do sometimes wind up with some fun stuff to do on stream as a result of it. So I didn't like the idea of basically having a week go by after a bad stream with essentially nothing to show for it. And I didn't want to miss a second week of Elder Scrolls. So I recorded the Elder Scrolls straight out of work, then I immediately went to record this, but I am 100% feeling the effects of not getting enough sleep, of which I include Lumpy Space, who is a streamer, incredibly friendly, someone I'm always happy to see inside of chat, and I said I was going to shout him out, and I didn't. But Lumpy is probably, if I have a guess, has probably been putting the new Mortal Kombat through its paces. I know them through Johnny Big Time's channel, and somebody who's an absolute pleasure to have inside of chat. I unfortunately don't get to watch them play that much on Twitch, but I do like giving the support where I can, because I know I benefited a lot from people talking about usually about my vocal qualities. It's never been quality gameplay here. But people do seem to like the sound of my voice on occasion, so I'm happy to provide it, and more importantly, I'm happy to give that support that I got when I was getting started. And CKY2 Kendall, I really appreciate you saying that, because these streams, especially when they're the ones where I don't feel like God's gift to entertainment, it really does mean a lot to hear people say. To say that that they like my stuff. So, all right. On a similar note, I do want to take a quick moment here as well and shout out the Eyes of Sin, because the Eyes of Sin, you didn't get to see this, but CKY2 Kendall subscribed to the channel, which means they get to use the first of these 3 emotes that I'm putting in here. And I'm specifically shouting out the Eyes of Sin because even though she hasn't streamed in quite some time, the Eyes of Sin is a very gifted artist, and she is the one who's responsible for those emotes that you see on the screen. And the one that I made, the $5 one, this was not originally going to be the emote that everybody got at the default level. But on the new ones, we haven't had a chat about what I want yet, though. I love that you're coming up with stuff already, but please do keep the please do make sure that you please keep track of your hours that you're spending on developing stuff, and we can definitely have a chat about some ideas. Anyways, System 1 Dumb is my least favorite, and it's not that I think Eyes of Sin did a bad job of it. It's just that I think she did so much of a better job on the other two, and I think I did not give her a very good sort of mandate on System 1 Dumb. Oh my God, CK2 can't. Thank you very much for the tier 2 subscription. I have no idea why the game didn't why the alert didn't pop up, but I think it's the second time somebody's ever done that. But yeah, the Eyes of Sin just did a great job on these, and I told her I wanted my version of Kappa. And so she did System 1 HMM, and I love this emote so much. She did such an incredible job of this one, and did it like with only that guideline. Now what's funny is I actually gave a presentation on Epicurus in classics in school. So she did this incredible job with a statue image that didn't just apply there, but I also got to show you guys a couple of clips from a Canadian filmmaker I really like called Arthur Lipset, and it bears just a passing resemblance to that one as well. So she wound up creating this this image that meant a lot to me, and I immediately had to make it sort of the face of the channel here. So I personally really like System 1 Smart as well. I really do like the Machiavelli emote, but I had to do System 1 HMM as soon as I did. So CKY2 Kendall, number one, super nice of you to say that. But number two, I am actually really happy that more people are getting a chance to put out those emotes, because honestly, the Eyes of Sin, I think, did such a great job with it. And if there's one regret I have about the size of the channel, it is that I do not get a chance to show off her talents the same way that a larger streamer would. So, but like I said, honestly, especially now when I'm feeling quite tired and I was coming off of not as good of a stream on Friday, getting that kind of support, getting that kind of encouragement from you really does count for something. Like, this is the big thing. There are people behind the streams too. I like talking about the games. I sometimes get off topic. You know, it's easy to get lost in the gaming side of things, but it really does make the difference. You know, being able to appreciate. I watch Twitch too. Being able to appreciate both sides of the equation, it is really the encouragement of people that does mean. It essentially just means that people kind of have the energy to keep going when you start wondering whether or not it's the best use of the time. So anyways, I'm going to stop being mushy about it. I'm going to go for arc emitters. I like plasma cannons. More shooty is always good, and it'll only take me 18 months, but I don't really have a good X-class weapon. And this is the one that's available. It fits with the specialization of Flora Hawthorne. Plasma Cannon will be an incremental improvement in a situation where I'm already doing better than my competitors. This thing is a game. This is essentially where I just take a big ship, I move it into a system, and anything smaller than it dies. So we're taking that. I actually need to start building some ships at some point.
Upscaling complete.
Where's the rest of the fleet? Oh, that's right. I need to move these guys over. Are we done building yet? Yes, we are. Alright, get over there, lads. Oh, hang on. Nope. Get back, guy. So this is the burgeoning Bion Armada. I actually think this is the one. Yeah, so burgeoning Bion goes here.
Research actualized.
So they're going to get supplemented by these ships.
Upscaling complete.
So you know what, Reach Agency? This corporate agency promotes a wide variety of interstellar tourist attractions, as well as offering employment packages and signing bonuses to potential immigrants interested in relocating to corporate space. Suddenly, a wild Mad King appears. Hello, chat. How you doing, Mad King Brutus? I do need to let you know I am very tired. I'm actually almost half hour over, so I am probably going to be wrapping up very soon, and I know that is a disappointment because I think you're still emerging from this haze of Kingdom Hearts. So I'd love to be able to entertain you for a little bit longer, but I am actually getting to a point where I'm possibly not going to be on time for work, which I struggle with it sometimes, but I always set out to make sure that I'm at work on time. So it might be a very brief encounter, but please don't make that seem like I'm avoiding you. All right, I've never seen this one before. Create a penal colony. The entire world is set aside as a massive penal colony. The vast prison communities are largely self-managed by the prisoners, and punishment often means exile into the unforgiving wilderness. So it's Space Australia. I just kind of want to see how this works. Oh, interesting. I wonder why that is. The Whirling Bion Armada should be combining with the Blossoming Bion Armada, but I kind of messed that up, so. I'm not going to build anything in Equity. Actually, you know what? Equity is probably already building. Nope, there's still upgrading. So I'm going to wait a little bit before I start building the battleships, but a major factor for upgrades are going to be incorporating battleships into my fleets. But for now, I got better stuff to do. What's going on with the rest of this? Okay, my construction ships have got absolutely nothing to do right now. Yep, we will unpause. What's wrong with Space Australia? Absolutely nothing. Keep in mind, Mad King Brutus, I am half Australian. Any jokes about penal colonies I make are as much a statement on my own heritage. You know what? Let's just upgrade the Flourishing Bion Armada. These guys are going to take a while. Impulse Thruster. These highly advanced fusion-powered thrusters provide ships with unmatched maneuverability and speed under sublight conditions. This seems like a really good idea. Okay, so I have a few dilemmas here. So, lots of cheap things for me to build. I'm always happy to build cheap things. So Marauder missiles are the most expensive attack upgrade. Durasteel armor makes my ships survive longer. Armored torpedoes, again, a weapon upgrade for something that I actually don't have that much I don't have that much technology in. This is a level 2 for something, I'm a few stages down the path. Mega cannon, sort of as said, it's nice to have big X level nightmares. Mega cannon definitely fits that description. But modular engineering, I did say that part of, one of the reasons I wasn't going to get my starbase capacity up was because I was going to spend all this time upgrading my existing existing star bases, and that bill is going to come due. I think, though, if I'm honest with myself, if I had to pick one thing, I want to have the best fleets I can moving towards the enemy. So the question is, do I want a survivable fleet or do I want an offensive fleet? And in this particular case, I actually think the Durasteel armor is the way to go. Survivability is going to make sure that I can just sort of keep them out. You know, the longer I can keep the ships out and just messing with their systems, I can, you know, I could put a big push into taking one of these bases. This thing heals while I take the rest, and while I go and sort of munch on some of these smaller sectors. The base heals up, then I get a toehold, which allows me to heal up. So survivability winds up having sort of this outsized benefit. It could have gone another way. I wouldn't take that as sort of the last word on whether or not that was the best one for me to go with. But like in the end, it's sort of hard for me to say, oh, armored torpedoes. Clearly, this is the most important thing I can go for. So. Another thing that I didn't mention directly, but I have had my eye on for... Oh, Paradia, I screwed up. We are... short amenities. Okay, this will cover me for the next 2 jobs, and I believe we'll get that in 229. I don't think we'll lose them. Okay. Excuse me. The big dilemma on this one is not so much getting it up to 25, it's figuring out what I do after that. Oh, I know what I do after that. Paradia is dedicated to science, so I'm going to get 2 jobs out of that. I'm just going to slouch on for now. The problem is that this is a big problem. If I have a Gaia world with had these laying around, apparently, you know what I request, the usual photo of the life-saving coffee that will keep me going tomorrow morning. I mean, I've been drinking coffee probably since about 5 o'clock, trying to keep up. I think I've developed a tolerance. But thank you very much, Mad King Protos. You're a gentleman and a scholar, and I will do my best. If I neglect to send the photo out right away, it is just because I'm trying to catch up on my on my my haze. But that will help me a lot. Thank you. Okay, so this I'm just going to keep into a holding pattern. I think what will probably have to happen, I can build some agriculture districts, but honestly I don't think this thing is really self-sustaining in its current form. We'll build the city district because that will allow me to get my amenities up, but it's pretty bad if I've got Paradia. Sorry, Peridiada. You know, the fact that I've already got an immigration pull happiness bonus, it's on a Gaia world, and I already have negative migration. That is a pretty huge screw up of a planet. So in reality, I'm probably gonna have to build something like a shopping mall. That'll cover me to the next level. But in this case here, I simply cannot afford to keep pushing research labs. I need a little bit more to keep the system going. Oh, the Metron Archivists. Chief Executive Officer Olive Oak, we understand that your empire is home to an individual whose brilliant mind transcends the tragical primitiveness of your species. While the talents of Erica Bloom are sadly wasted in the Rhizome capital, we, Metron, have a use for a skilled scientist to work in our archives. As such, we are offering you a unique chance to earn our favor by allowing us to take charge of them. We already have a ship en route to pick them up. You need to only say yes and everything will be settled. I'm sure you don't want to disappoint us, do you? So we can say, very well, you may take them. It's not up to us to decide. Give up our bright mind? I think not. So, we are an egalitarian system, but it's a chat. We believe in the in the mobility of labor. So Erica Bloom is a scientist. Oh, interesting. So they were a genius that has, in fact, yeah, they actually are not realizing their talent. I am completely on board with this. We will hire the guy with the robot. I mean, they were just doing exploration, right? So it's I don't lose that much. Isaacson says, you know how to make coffee pretty all right, not amazingly, but well enough. You've always wanted to try and make Turkish coffee. I don't really know what's involved in that. I have a French press. It's a nice little sort of like single cup sized one. That's all that I use to make coffee. Anyway, sorry. I'm actually going to wrap up on this, but I'll talk a little bit about the future plans. So the one thing that I've had my eye on for a while, and I haven't had the presence of mind to mention because it is very weird to describe how I feel right now. It is not pleasant, but it is unique. So my minerals just suddenly vanished. They used to be at something like 100 and now they're down to 35. Why is that? Well, basically because all the upgrades on Python Prime hit, and more importantly, I believe all the workers... Oh wait, that should be a specialist job, I think. We're full up on metallurgists, so everybody is working these tiles exactly the way that they should be. So this is good. We're making lots of alloys, but it comes at a cost. I'm spending 96 on this planet alone to produce. So I need to start thinking about where I'm going to be getting the minerals from. It's actually a little difficult for me to tell here because I'm going to need to split my attention between housing, housing, amenities. This is a tricky planet to manage. What is probably a little bit more likely for me is to wait for Stebnar to kind of carry on down its path. We're still short on amenities, though. I think that's because we have clerk positions open, though. Yeah, that'll be taken care of. And Capella, if they're not focused on mining, they have to be. So, interesting. I'm still going to build one, but so even though this has a lot of energy available, I'm going to make this focused on mining just because we do need to get this up. But yeah, like this is a great example of where forward planning becomes really important in Megacorps, specifically the patch that came with it, because if you go hard like we did on Python, we're going crazy as far as civilian fabricators and alloy nanoplants. I mean, essentially what we did was we took all of our industrial production off of the capital world and took it to this other planet. That's fine. Like that was a choice that I made, and I did it so that Rose Maple can get this huge bonus to research. I mean, there's a reason why my empire has a technological edge, and it comes specifically from my capital world. But if you have a bunch of production that comes online and you don't have the resources to feed it, you are going to have a very nasty surprise once your workers start going there. Masamagoma, we're actually just wrapping up. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so I mean, again, the main focus is still going to be about getting my fleet into the most lethal, the most angry, the most fast that it can be. In terms of a ticking clock, realistically, we can start in 7 years. We've got 7 years to get not just everything good to go. I actually probably have about 5 years to get my navy built. And that's not going to be enough time to get battleships in, I don't think. Well, let's assume that we've got 5 years to get my fleets in order. And more importantly, I think it's very likely that these guys are going to do a defensive pact, which will complicate my ability to take things over. I'll probably reserve, what I'll probably wind up doing is I'll just have sort of the defensive position set up here and hope for the best. But it's a fantastic way that they've created a pressure on me, where originally it was going to be a nice to have to try and take out the Scythian League. Now I sort of need to weigh against, okay, what if the Great Khan wakes up? Well, I'm screwed one way or the other in that situation, but because this defensive pact has emerged, I now need to sort of reconsider when the best opportunity is. The funny thing about this is the fact that they're entering into defensive pacts and the fact they're making nice with these guys is actually accelerating my desire to invade. And that's ultimately just because if I leave this be, it's all the more likely that they're going to forge a reasonably strong alliance. And at this point, the fact that it's just these two, I still get to keep my existing invasion plans. Anyways, we will do all of that. Oh, we no longer see any reason to keep you locked out of our territory. Our borders are open to you now again. That's nice of you. I would maybe like a little bit more. We did give you one of my good scientists. I wonder if I can see my scientist on the Font of Knowledge. Apparently not. Oh man, I really want to see what this is like on the. Well, no, we should be able to see this for the racists. Okay, that's actually not as exciting as I thought it would be. I'm sorry, I'm totally filibustering. I said it was going to be 10 was my drop dead, and then it turned to 10:30, and now I'm 15 minutes over my extension. So. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Just as long as everything's moving, because I know I'm not going to think to check my science ships. Yes, everything's good. So, main focus is lethality of my navies, get them into position and ready for the war. If they don't do the defensive pact, I will put the subsidy offer and start the war. The most important thing for me to keep in mind with the war is that with the existing position I have right now, I will be able to make sure that none of the fleets of the Hythian League get damaged by the Scythian League, which would be my largest increase in attrition. I can no longer guarantee that if they do the Korean coalition. I can set up defensive positions for myself all I want over here, but they can go crashing into the Hythian League. They can do damage to the Hythian League, and that will show up in morale damage on my own on my side. But we will deal with that when it emerges. I really like this song, so I'll go on the title page. Let's see who is streaming tonight. I also wanted to take a quick second and say thank you to everybody for hanging out. I know this was a sort of a shorter one. It was an uneven one, but it definitely made me feel very good to be able to stream to you all. especially to have just such a nice, just a very active group of people who made me feel supported. And a very special shout out to CKY2 Kendall. I never want to give the impression that it's only the next sub that matters a lot to me, but in addition to being a follower, that brought me over to 2,100 followers, and I still owe you all a 2,000 follower celebration. They got a subscription, and then they got a tier 2 subscription. So it is a chance to see some lovely emotes by the Eyes of Sin. Thank you very much for that. And again, to everybody who has shown up, it doesn't mean a lot. Concurrent views are generally how Twitch determines whether or not I have value as a streamer. More importantly, it means that you find me inoffensive enough to keep watching. So especially on a night like this where I don't feel, where I'm obviously a little rough around the edges as far as just my mental state in terms of not having enough sleep. It does mean a lot. And I don't know if streamers say this enough, but I think if people are nasty on stream, it can definitely sometimes get to me, but it's one of these things that you learn to live with. But I think sometimes because streamers want to put on a bit of a brave face for the case where somebody is coming in with malicious intent, it sometimes creates the impression that there's some stoic or they're too cool for school or whatever. Viewers have the ability to make a streamer feel very good, especially if they've had a bad day. I know it usually goes the other way around. People watch entertainment to be able to potentially deal with something bad that happened to them, or just to relax or anything along those lines. But people really do have the capacity of making a streamer feel very good, and sometimes to make them feel bad, but it's better to focus on the positive. And you guys certainly did that for me tonight. So again, I don't want to get too mushy, but I did want to take a minute to say thank you. Thank you for that. So, without further ado, I don't get a chance. I think especially because Mad King Brutus, he was worried that I was besmirching the honor of the Land of Oz. I am going to host Outworld tonight. Outworld, named after Mortal Kombat. He has got a few different records, I think, for speedruns in the game. If he doesn't have the records, at least he is very good at Mortal Kombat. He's currently doing that right now. He's a partnered streamer. He's an incredibly friendly guy. A couple other people who I can recommend. The Cool Eagle is playing Battletech. The thing is that he usually winds up finishing around the time that I do, so I'm going to hold off on that one. And W. Shand is playing Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Shand is another example of a partner streamer. He's somebody who does this for a living. But in this particular case here, Outworld, especially because I'm going to be making penal colonies and because he is just an outstanding gentleman, we're gonna give him a host. If you want to show the colors, we're tired of system talk, heard this place was better. If you just want to hang out, I would love it if you can give him a chance to entertain you. I know I certainly enjoyed doing that for you. And I am now going to shut up and get some shut-eye and hope to God my alarm wakes me in the morning. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for the bits. Thank you for the subs. Thank you for the follows. No stream on Wednesday. I apologize for that. There will be a VOD on Tuesday of the Elder Scrolls. I'll make sure to upload it. Oh, crap. I gotta upload that before I go to bed. Okay. I will make sure I upload it before I go to bed so that you will have something to watch tomorrow at 7 o'clock with the Caius voice. And we will see you all on Friday when I figure out what the hell I'm doing with my life. Goodbye. I'm leaving. Have a good one.